The first thing Roseline noticed about the Han mansion was how quiet it was. Not peaceful. Quiet. There was a difference. Peaceful silence made you feel safe. The silence inside the enormous Korean mansion made you feel watched. Roseline stood at the entrance with one small suitcase beside her, staring at the polished marble floor beneath her shoes. The mansion looked less like a home and more like a palace designed for people who never wanted visitors. 3 floors. Tall windows. Dark wooden walls. Expensive paintings. A staircase that curved upward like something from an old European movie. And at the center of it all stood a portrait of the man everyone in Seoul whispered about. Chairman Han Yi-min, the head of the Han family. A powerful businessman. And according to rumors, a man whose influence reached places respectable businessmen pretended did not exist. Roseline had heard the rumors. She had also learned a long time ago that rumors did not pay rent. So when an employment agency offered her a live-in position as a private maid at the Han residence, she accepted. She needed the money. She needed the job. And she had promised herself she would not allow anyone to make her ashamed of working for a living. The elderly housekeeper, Mrs. Park, approached her. "You're Roseline." "Yes, ma'am." Mrs. Park looked at her carefully. "You've worked in private homes before." "Yes." "You understand this house has rules." Roseline nodded. "I understand." Mrs. Park lowered her voice. "Then remember the most important one." Roseline waited. "Never argue with Mr. Han's son." Roseline blinked. "His son." Mrs. Park glanced toward the staircase. "He lives here." "What is his name?" Mrs. Park hesitated. "Han Ji-hoon." The name seemed to change the temperature in the room. Roseline noticed. "What does he do?" "Nothing." The answer came too quickly. Roseline frowned. Mrs. Park sighed. "He doesn't have to." Before Roseline could ask another question, footsteps sounded upstairs. Slow. Confident. Unhurried. Everyone in the entrance hall immediately became tense. 2 maids carrying folded towels disappeared into a side corridor. A chef who had been speaking loudly in the kitchen suddenly lowered his voice. Mrs. Park straightened her back. Roseline looked up. A young Korean man appeared at the top of the staircase. He was tall, impossibly composed. Black hair falling slightly across his forehead. White shirt. Dark trousers. No tie. No smile. He looked younger than Roseline expected. Maybe 28. But there was something about his eyes that made him seem much older. He walked down the stairs without acknowledging anyone. Then he stopped. His gaze landed on Roseline. She instinctively straightened. "Who are you?" His voice was calm. Too calm. "Roseline Williams." "I didn't ask for your name." She paused. "You asked who I was." For the first time, something flickered across his face. Surprise. Mrs. Park looked horrified. Ji-hoon's eyes narrowed. "You're the new maid." "Yes." "I don't like new people." Roseline nodded. "That's unfortunate." The room became completely silent. Mrs. Park nearly dropped the cloth in her hands. Ji-hoon stared at her. Roseline realized she might have made a mistake. But instead of apologizing, she simply picked up her suitcase. "Where should I put my things?" Ji-hoon walked past her. "Anywhere you want." Then he stopped beside her. "But don't touch anything that belongs to me." Roseline looked at him. "Fine." He leaned slightly closer. "And don't speak to me unless I speak first." Roseline's expression tightened. "Fine." Ji-hoon continued walking. But before he reached the hallway, he turned. "You say that word a lot." Roseline folded her arms. "You give me a lot of reasons, too." One of the maids accidentally gasped. Ji-hoon stared at Roseline for several seconds. Then he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the kind of smile someone wore when they had just discovered a new game. Interesting. And he walked away. Roseline watched him disappear. Mrs. Park immediately pulled her aside. What were you thinking? I was answering him. You don't answer him. He asked me questions. You don't answer questions from Ji-hoon. Roseline frowned. Then why does he ask them? Mrs. Park had no answer. Instead, she looked toward the hallway. Just be careful. That evening, Roseline discovered why. At 7 o'clock, she was instructed to serve dinner. The dining room was enormous. At one end sat Chairman Han. Beside him were 2 senior family members. Ji-hoon sat opposite them, casually scrolling through his phone. Roseline placed the dishes on the table. She noticed that everyone avoided looking at Ji-hoon. Except her. She was not intimidated by him. Not yet. When she placed his plate down, he looked at it. Too much. Roseline looked at the plate. You haven't eaten. I said it's too much. She removed some food. Better. He looked at her. Why are you still standing? I'm serving dinner. I don't need you watching me. Roseline turned away. Then she heard a glass being placed firmly on the table. Wait. She stopped. Ji-hoon pointed at the plate. Take it away. Roseline stared. You just told me it was too much. Now I don't want it. She picked up the plate. As she turned, he spoke again. Actually, leave it. Roseline slowly turned back. Which one? Ji-hoon leaned back. The plate. She put it down. Anything else? No. She walked away. Behind her, one of the older family members whispered something. Ji-hoon's eyes followed Roseline. He seemed irritated. But there was another emotion beneath it. Curiosity. Later that night, Roseline was cleaning the library when she heard a crash. She rushed toward the sound. A vase lay on the floor, broken into pieces. Ji-hoon stood beside it. His expression was cold. A young maid stood nearby, trembling. I didn't mean to. Leave. The maid's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. I said leave. She hurried away. Roseline looked at the broken vase. Then at Ji-hoon. You scared her. His head turned. What did you say? You heard me. His eyes hardened. You're getting comfortable. No. Roseline crouched down and began carefully gathering the larger pieces. I just don't like watching people cry. Ji-hoon stared at her. You think you're different. No. You think you're brave. No. Then why do you keep talking? Roseline looked up. Because you keep giving me something to respond to. He almost laughed. Almost. Then his face became serious again. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. You've been here one day. And I've already watched 3 people become nervous when you walk into a room. That hit something. His expression changed. Only slightly. But Roseline saw it. For a moment, the arrogant young man disappeared. Something wounded appeared underneath. Then it vanished. Ji-hoon turned away. You should stop observing people. Roseline returned to picking up the broken pieces. Maybe you should stop giving people reasons to. He walked out. Roseline didn't see him again that night. But at midnight, while she was returning to her room, she noticed light coming from the music room. The door was slightly open. She heard piano keys. Soft. Beautiful. Nothing like the man she had met. Roseline stood in the hallway listening. Ji-hoon's fingers moved across the keys. His eyes were closed. For the first time, he looked peaceful. Then he stopped. Without opening his eyes, he said, You can come in. Roseline froze. You knew I was there. I always know when someone is watching me. She entered slowly. That was beautiful. Ji-hoon opened his eyes. You play. A little. What does a little mean? I can play enough to embarrass myself. He looked at the piano. Sit. Roseline hesitated. You told me not to speak to you. I changed my mind. She sat beside him. Ji-hoon moved slightly to the side. Play something. Roseline placed her fingers on the keys. Then she played. It was an old African melody her mother had taught her when she was young. A simple tune. Warm. Gentle. Ji-hoon listened. He didn't interrupt. When she finished, the room remained silent. Where did you learn that? My mother. Where is she? Roseline looked down. She passed away. Ji-hoon's expression softened. I'm sorry. The words surprised her. They sounded sincere. Before she could respond, his phone rang. He looked at the screen. The softness disappeared. He stood. Go to bed. Good night. He walked away. But Roseline noticed something strange. He didn't sound angry anymore. For the first time since she arrived, he sounded tired. Very tired. The next morning, Roseline woke to shouting downstairs. She hurried out. Mrs. Park was standing in the hallway. Two maids were crying. Ji-hoon stood before them. What happened? Roseline asked. Mrs. Park shook her head. Stay out of it. But Roseline couldn't. One of the maids had tears running down her cheeks. Ji-hoon noticed Roseline. You. She stopped. Come here. Roseline walked toward him. He held out a white shirt. There is a stain. She looked at it. I'll clean it. You'll do more than clean it. His voice became colder. You'll personally replace it. Roseline frowned. Why? Because it was damaged while under your supervision. I wasn't supervising anyone. You're responsible for the laundry. That's not fair. The room froze. Ji-hoon stepped closer. You want to discuss fairness with me? Yes. His jaw tightened. You have been here less than 2 days. And I've already learned something. What? Roseline looked directly into his eyes. Everyone here is afraid of you. He said nothing. She continued. But fear isn't respect. Something inside Ji-hoon's expression broke. For 1 second, she saw pain. Then anger returned. Get out. Roseline didn't move. Roseline, Mrs. Park whispered. But Roseline finally turned away. As she walked toward the hallway, Ji-hoon called after her. Wait. She stopped. He looked at the shirt. Then at her. Forget it. Roseline raised an eyebrow. Forget what? The shirt. He walked away. She watched him go. And for reasons she couldn't explain, she suddenly felt sorry for him. Not because he was powerful. Not because he was rich. But because she had begun to suspect something. Han Ji-hoon wasn't cruel because he enjoyed hurting people. He was cruel because somewhere along the way, he had learned that pushing people away was easier than allowing them close. And Roseline had no idea yet that this discovery would eventually change both of their lives. If you're enjoying this story, stay with me. The reason Ji-hoon became the way he is about to be revealed, and it is what Roseline expects. That night, Roseline found something beneath the piano. A photograph. Ji-hoon as a teenager. Standing beside a woman who looked remarkably like him. His mother. On the back of the photograph were 4 handwritten words. Please forgive my son. Roseline stared at the message. Then she heard footsteps behind her. She turned. Ji-hoon stood in the doorway. And this time, he wasn't angry. He looked terrified. Where did you get that? Roseline slowly held up the photograph. I found it. Ji-hoon walked toward her. Give it to me. She handed it over. He stared at the photograph for several seconds. Then he whispered, she was the only person who ever believed I could become a good man. Roseline said nothing. Ji-hoon looked at her. My mother died believing she had failed me. Roseline shook her head. Maybe she didn't fail you. His eyes met hers. Then why did I become this? Roseline didn't have an answer. But she knew one thing. He had finally asked the right question. And she intended to help him find the answer. Neither of them knew that the answer was connected to a secret buried inside the Han family itself. A secret that would soon force Ji-hoon to choose between protecting his family's reputation and becoming the man his mother always believed he could be. And when that choice finally came, Roseline would be standing right beside him. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Ji-hoon still held the photograph. His thumb slowly moved across the faded image of his mother. Roseline noticed that his hands were trembling. Only slightly. But they were trembling. You should go, he said quietly. Roseline didn't move. You don't have to tell me anything. Then why are you still here? Because you look like you need someone to stay. Ji-hoon looked at her. The words seemed to confuse him. Nobody stayed. That was the rule he had built his life around. People came when they wanted something. People stayed when they were afraid to leave. And eventually, everyone left anyway. You don't know me, he whispered. No, Roseline replied, but I'm beginning to. His expression tightened. That's dangerous. Why? Because people who think they understand me usually regret it. Roseline smiled faintly. Maybe you haven't met the right person. Ji-hoon looked away. For the first time, he had nothing to say. The following morning, something unusual happened. The kitchen staff were laughing. Not loudly. Not freely. But they were laughing. Roseline entered carrying a basket of laundry. What happened? One of the older cooks smiled. Mr. Ji-hoon is leaving for the day. Everyone laughed again. Roseline shook her head. You're all terrible. No, another maid said. We're survivors. Roseline laughed. Then the laughter suddenly stopped. Ji-hoon stood in the doorway. Everyone froze. He looked around the room. Nobody spoke. Then his eyes landed on Roseline. What? She raised an eyebrow. Nothing. Why were you laughing? Because you're not here. One of the maids covered her mouth. Ji-hoon stared at Roseline. Then something unexpected happened. He smiled. Not his usual cold smile. A real one. Small. Brief. But real. The entire kitchen seemed shocked. Ji-hoon turned and walked away. Roseline watched him disappear. The cook leaned toward her. What did you do to him? I didn't do anything. Whatever you did, keep doing it. Roseline laughed. But beneath the humor, something was changing. Ji-hoon began appearing in places where Roseline worked. At first, she assumed it was coincidence. Then she noticed the pattern. When she watered the plants in the conservatory, he appeared there. When she cleaned the library, he suddenly needed a book. When she practiced piano, he found an excuse to enter the music room. One afternoon, Roseline caught him watching her from the doorway. You need something. No. Then why are you standing there? I like the music. You could say that. I just did. She smiled. You're getting better at talking. Don't get used to it. He walked inside. Roseline continued playing. After a few moments, he sat beside her. Teach me that melody. She stopped. You already know how to play. I want to learn yours. She looked at him. My melody. Your mother's melody. Roseline nodded. Okay. She placed her fingers over his. He immediately stiffened. She noticed. You're nervous. I don't get nervous. You just did. He looked at their hands. Then at her. Start. She showed him the first notes. He copied them. Again. And again. Eventually, he played the entire phrase. Roseline smiled. See. What? You can learn. Ji-hoon looked at her. I've learned many things. Such as how to negotiate. That's not a life skill. It is in my family. How to make people afraid. His expression changed. Roseline regretted the question. But he answered. Yes. Why? Ji-hoon looked toward the window. Because my father taught me that kindness is expensive. Roseline frowned. That sounds like something a lonely person would say. He looked at her sharply. Don't analyze me. Then stop giving me material. For a moment, they both laughed. Neither noticed Chairman Han standing outside the room. He had watched them, and his expression was not pleased. That evening, he summoned Ji-hoon to his office. You're spending too much time with the new maid. Ji-hoon looked at him. She works here. That's not what I mean. Then what do you mean? Chairman Han closed the folder in front of him. She's becoming comfortable. With whom? With you. Ji-hoon said nothing. His father leaned back. You have responsibilities. I know. You're expected to represent this family. I know. Then remember who you are. Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. My name is Ji-hoon. Your name means nothing without this family. Ji-hoon stared at him. Is that what you believe? It's what reality requires. Ji-hoon left without another word. Outside the office, he found Roseline standing in the corridor. She had clearly heard something. Are you okay? Yes. You're lying. I said I'm fine. He walked past her. Roseline followed. Ji-hoon. He stopped. What? You don't have to pretend with me. He turned. You don't understand. Then explain. I can't. Why? Because if you know too much about this family, you become part of it. Roseline stared at him. What exactly is wrong with your family? Ji-hoon's eyes moved toward the office. Everything. Before Roseline could ask more, his phone rang. He answered. His face changed. What happened? He listened. Then he said quietly, Don't tell my father. He ended the call. Roseline waited. What's wrong? Nothing. Ji-hoon. He looked at her. There are things happening outside this house that you don't need to know about. She nodded. Then I won't ask. He looked surprised. Why? Because you just told me you can't explain. Roseline turned away. But when you're ready, I'll listen. She walked off. Ji-hoon stood there. He had spent years believing people only listened because they wanted something. Roseline didn't. And that frightened him more than anything. 3 days later, the mansion hosted an important dinner. Business partners arrived. Politicians. Executives. Family friends. People who spoke softly and smiled constantly. Roseline was assigned to serve drinks. Ji-hoon stood near his father. He looked different. Suit. Perfect posture. Cold expression. The man from the piano room was gone. Roseline watched him greet guests. Then a woman approached him. Elegant. Beautiful. Confident. She touched his arm. Ji-hoon. He turned. Yuna. You look handsome. Thank you. Roseline didn't know who she was. But she noticed something. Ji-hoon looked uncomfortable. Eunice smiled at him. Your father told me we should discuss the wedding arrangements. Roseline nearly dropped the tray. Wedding? Ji-hoon looked furious. There are no wedding arrangements. Eunice's smile disappeared. You haven't told her. There's nothing to tell. Chairman Han approached. Ji-hoon. His voice carried authority. We'll discuss this later. Ji-hoon looked at Roseline. For one brief second, their eyes met. She looked away. She shouldn't have cared. She was a maid. He was the son of the family. Whatever happened between them was impossible. But the feeling in her chest refused to listen to logic. Later that night, Roseline was alone in the laundry room when Ji-hoon entered. You're avoiding me. No. You haven't looked at me all evening. I've been working. Roseline. She turned. Why didn't you tell me? Tell you what? That my father wants me to marry Yuna. Roseline looked at him. Why should you? Because you asked me about my family. I didn't ask about your marriage. He stepped closer. Would it have changed anything? She didn't answer. Roseline. Go back to your fiancé. She isn't my fiancé. She seems to think she is. She doesn't know me. And apparently neither do I. He stopped. Roseline looked down. I shouldn't have gotten involved. You didn't. I did. No. I did. She walked past him. He caught her wrist. Not aggressively. Just enough to stop her. She looked at his hand. He immediately released her. I'm sorry. That apology surprised her. Ji-hoon looked genuinely ashamed. I shouldn't have stopped you. Roseline looked at him. You're changing. He laughed softly. Am I? Yes. Maybe you're imagining it. No. She walked away. But before she reached the door, he said something that made her stop. I don't want to marry her. Roseline turned. Then don't. My father won't accept that. Then stand up to him. You make it sound easy. It is. Then why do you say it? Because sometimes difficult things are still necessary. Ji-hoon looked at her for a long moment. Would you stay if I did? Roseline's heart skipped. She swallowed. This isn't about me. It became about you a long time ago. Silence. He stepped closer. I don't know when it happened. Neither did she. But they both knew it had. Before either could say more, a voice echoed from the hallway. Ji-hoon. His father's voice. Ji-hoon stepped away. Chairman Han stood at the entrance. His face was unreadable. Come with me. Ji-hoon followed. Roseline remained alone. She didn't know what had just changed. But she knew something had. And she knew she was already too emotionally involved to walk away. That night, Ji-hoon didn't return to his room. He went to the study. His father was waiting. On the desk was an old document. You remember this? Ji-hoon looked down. His expression changed. It was his mother's handwriting. What is this? Something you were never supposed to see. Ji-hoon picked it up. His father's voice became quiet. Your mother didn't die believing she had failed you. Ji-hoon looked up. Then what did she believe? She believed I had destroyed you. The room went silent. Ji-hoon's breathing changed. What are you talking about? Chairman Han looked toward the window. Your mother discovered something about this family. What? She discovered that your uncle had been using the family business for things your mother strongly opposed. Ji-hoon's face hardened. What things? Illegal financial dealings, secret agreements, manipulation. Why didn't she tell me? Because she wanted to protect you. Ji-hoon stared at him. And you. His father didn't answer. You knew. Yes. Ji-hoon's eyes filled with disbelief. You let her carry that secret alone. I believed I was protecting the family. And what did it cost? Chairman Han looked at his son. Your mother. Ji-hoon stepped backward. His entire understanding of his childhood was collapsing. Then his father said something even worse. Your mother left one final letter. Where is it? Your uncle has it. Ji-hoon froze. Why? Because it contains evidence. Evidence of what? Enough to destroy the family. Ji-hoon understood. His father wasn't afraid of losing money. He was afraid of losing power. And suddenly, Roseline's words came back to him. Fear isn't respect. Ji-hoon walked out. He went straight to the music room. Roseline was there. She looked up. Ji-hoon. He stood before her. For the first time, he looked completely lost. My mother didn't fail me. Roseline slowly stood. No. She was trying to protect me. I know. You knew. No, I just believed she couldn't have failed you. He looked at her. Then he said the words he had spent his entire life refusing to say. I'm scared. Roseline stepped closer. You don't have to be ashamed of that. He looked at her. I don't know what to do. Then don't do everything tonight. She gently touched his hand. Start with one thing. What? Decide who you want to be. Ji-hoon stared at her. And for the first time in his life, the answer wasn't about his father. It wasn't about his family. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about power. It was about the kind of man he wanted to become. He squeezed her hand. I want to be better. Roseline smiled. Then start tomorrow. He nodded. Neither of them knew that tomorrow would bring the most dangerous challenge of all, not because someone wanted to hurt them, but because someone inside the mansion had discovered their growing bond. And that person was determined to end it. If this story is pulling you in, you can stay with me for the next part. Ji-hoon's biggest secret is about to come to light, and Roseline will have to decide whether she can trust him completely. The next morning, Roseline entered the kitchen and found a sealed envelope on the table. Her name was written across it. She opened it. Inside was a single photograph. It showed her, standing beside Ji-hoon, taken the night they played piano together. Underneath the photograph was a handwritten message. Leave this house before you become another victim of the Han family. Roseline's hands went cold. She looked toward the doorway. Someone was standing there. But before she could see who it was, the lights suddenly went out. And somewhere upstairs, a door slammed shut. Roseline stood completely still in the darkness. She could hear her own breathing. Then came another sound. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Someone was moving through the kitchen. Roseline reached for her phone, but before she could turn on the flashlight, the lights came back. The kitchen was empty. The envelope was still in her hand. She looked toward the doorway. Nothing. Then she heard Ji-hoon's voice. Roseline. She turned. He was standing at the entrance. His expression changed when he saw the photograph. Where did you get that? It was left here. He walked toward her. Who gave it to you? I don't know. He took the photograph. His eyes hardened. This was taken inside the mansion. Yes. Who else knew about that night? Roseline shook her head. I don't know. Ji-hoon studied the photograph. Then he looked at the message. His expression became darker. Pack your things. Roseline stared at him. What? You're leaving. No. Roseline. You don't get to decide that. This isn't a game. I know. Someone is watching you. I know. They know about us. Roseline stepped closer. There is no us. Ji-hoon's eyes softened. You don't believe that. She looked away. He lowered his voice. Please. The word stopped her. Ji-hoon never said please. Not to anyone. I don't want you caught in something you didn't choose. Roseline looked back at him. I chose to stay. You don't understand what you're choosing. Then explain it to me. He hesitated. My family is what people think. I already know that. No, you don't. He placed the photograph on the table. My father built his empire by making people believe he was untouchable. My uncle helped him. My mother discovered what they were doing and tried to stop them. And now my uncle has evidence that could destroy the family. Roseline looked at him. Where is it? We don't know. Then why are you afraid? Because my uncle knows my mother hid something. And he thinks you know where it is. Yes. Roseline took a breath. Do you? Ji-hoon looked at her. I have an idea. What? The piano. Her eyes widened. The piano. My mother always told me that some truths are hidden where people only look for beauty. Roseline remembered the photograph. The music room. The old melody. The piano. They hurried there. Ji-hoon opened the piano lid. He examined the inside. Nothing. Roseline ran her fingers along the wooden frame. Wait. She felt something unusual. A small indentation. Here. Ji-hoon leaned closer. There was a tiny hidden compartment beneath the edge of the instrument. He opened it. Inside was an envelope. Ji-hoon froze. His mother's handwriting was on the front. His hands trembled as he opened it. There was no evidence. No financial documents. No names. Just a letter. He read it silently. Then his eyes filled with tears. Roseline waited. Finally, he handed it to her. She read the first sentence. My son, if you are reading this, then you have finally become the man I hoped you would become. Roseline looked at him. He turned away. She continued. The letter explained that Ji-hoon's mother had discovered her husband's business dealings and wanted her son to grow up differently. But she knew she couldn't force him. So she left him something more valuable than money. A choice. At the end of the letter were only a few lines. Power is not proven by how many people fear you. It is proven by how many people feel safe when you enter a room. If you ever become the reason someone cries, stop and ask yourself why. You are my son, but you are also your own man. Choose wisely. Ji-hoon closed his eyes. Roseline watched him. Then he whispered. She knew. She knew what you could become. She believed in me. She still does. He looked at Roseline, and something changed in his face. Not anger. Not fear. Resolve. He picked up his phone. I need to call my father. Roseline nodded. But before he could dial, the door opened. Chairman Han stood there. His eyes went immediately to the letter. You found it. Ji-hoon stared at him. You knew it was here. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted to see what kind of man you would become before I gave it to you. Ji-hoon's face hardened. You manipulated me. I protected you. No. His voice shook. You controlled me. Chairman Han looked at his son. You think I don't know what I've done? You knew my mother was afraid. Yes. You watched her suffer. Yes. You allowed me to believe she had failed me. His father's eyes lowered. I was wrong. The admission stunned Ji-hoon. Chairman Han had never apologized to him. Not once. I thought power could protect everything, his father said quietly. I was wrong. Ji-hoon stared at him. What about Uncle? His father sighed. He knows the letter exists. Then we need to stop him. No. Ji-hoon looked confused. His father shook his head. You need to leave. Why? Because your uncle is not interested in controlling the company anymore. What does he want? You. Silence filled the room. Chairman Han looked at Roseline. And he knows she matters to you. Ji-hoon immediately stepped in front of her. His father noticed. Then he nodded slowly. That's why she has to leave. Roseline shook her head. No. Both men looked at her. I am not running because someone told me to. Ji-hoon turned. Roseline. No. She looked directly at him. You've spent your entire life letting other people decide what you should do. She pointed toward the letter. Your mother gave you a choice. Ji-hoon said nothing. So choose. His father watched them. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. You really have changed him. Roseline looked at him. No. She looked at Ji-hoon. He changed himself. That sentence stayed with Ji-hoon. For years, he had blamed his father. Blamed his family. Blamed the world. But perhaps change had never been something someone else could give him. It had to be his decision. And he made it. I won't run. Chairman Han nodded. Then prepare yourself. The confrontation that followed was not the kind Roseline expected. There were no weapons. No blood. No dramatic physical fight. Instead, Ji-hoon walked into the family boardroom and confronted his uncle with the one thing the older man never expected. The truth. Documents were presented. Accounts were reviewed. Old agreements were exposed. The people who had spent years remaining silent finally spoke. And Ji-hoon did something that shocked everyone. He refused to protect the family name at the expense of innocent people. If the company survives, he said, it will survive honestly. His uncle laughed. You're throwing away everything your father built. Ji-hoon looked at him. No. He glanced toward his father. I'm rebuilding it. His uncle looked at Chairman Han. You'll allow this? Chairman Han slowly stood. For the first time, my son is making a decision I respect. That ended the argument. The family empire would change. Not overnight. Not easily. But the secrets that had controlled the Han family for years finally began coming into the light. And Ji-hoon changed with them. He stopped humiliating employees. He apologized to the maids he had treated badly. He personally apologized to the young woman he had made cry over the broken vase. He increased the staff's salaries. He created a proper grievance system. And he stopped treating kindness as weakness. But there was one apology left. Roseline found him in the garden one evening. He was sitting beneath the old tree near the fountain. You're quiet. He smiled. I'm thinking. Dangerous. He laughed. You've been spending too much time around me. She sat beside him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Ji-hoon said, I owe you an apology. You've apologized before. I know. So, this one is different. He turned toward her. When you first came here, I treated you like you were beneath me. Roseline nodded. You did. I thought being feared made me powerful. You weren't powerful. I know. You were lonely. He smiled faintly. That's worse. Not necessarily. He looked at her. Why did you stay? Roseline thought for a moment. Because I saw something in you. What? A person who wanted to be loved, but didn't know how to ask for it. His eyes softened. Did you ever hate me? Yes. He looked surprised. She laughed. Sometimes. Fair. But I never believed you were hopeless. He looked down. Why? Because of the piano. The piano. The first time I saw you play, you weren't cruel. He smiled. My mother taught me. She gave you the part of yourself you were trying to hide. Ji-hoon looked at her. And you brought it back. Roseline shook her head. No, you did. He was quiet for several seconds. Then he asked, Roseline. Yes. Would you stay? She looked at him. As a maid. No. He took a breath. As the woman I love. Roseline's eyes widened. Ji-hoon laughed nervously. I practiced that sentence for 2 hours. She smiled. You're terrible at romance. I know. But you're improving. So is that a yes? She pretended to think. Maybe. Maybe. You made every maid cry when I arrived. I've apologized. Not enough. What do I have to do? Roseline smiled. Keep being the man your mother believed you could become. Ji-hoon nodded. I can do that. She reached for his hand. And this time, he didn't hesitate. He held hers gently. No fear. No control. No pretending. Just 2 people choosing each other. Months later, the mansion felt completely different. The staff laughed openly. The kitchen was louder. The halls no longer fell silent whenever Ji-hoon entered. One afternoon, Mrs. Park found Roseline in the music room. Are you still working here? Roseline smiled. Not exactly. Mrs. Park looked toward the garden. Ji-hoon was outside speaking with employees. He has changed. Yes. Mrs. Park smiled. You did that. Roseline shook her head. No, he chose to change. Mrs. Park nodded. That may be the most important difference. That evening, Ji-hoon returned to the piano. Roseline sat beside him. Play. What? Your mother's melody. He smiled. You're obsessed with it. Maybe. He began playing. This time, Roseline joined him. 2 melodies. 2 backgrounds. 2 people who had never expected their lives to cross. And somehow, they fit together. When the final note faded, Ji-hoon looked at her. I used to think my mother's greatest gift to me was this house. Roseline smiled. What do you think now? He looked at her. It was the chance to become someone better. And he squeezed her hand. And meeting you. Roseline leaned against his shoulder. Outside, the mansion that had once felt cold and frightening was filled with laughter. The place where maids had once cried had become a place where people felt safe. And perhaps that was the real transformation. Roseline had not changed Ji-hoon by saving him. She had changed him by refusing to believe that he was beyond saving. And Ji-hoon had not changed because a woman demanded it. He changed because, for the first time, he understood that real strength wasn't making people afraid to leave. It was becoming someone they wanted to stay beside. If you've enjoyed Ji-hoon and Roseline's story, you can leave a quick comment with the moment that touched you most. I'd love to know which part stayed with you. And if you'd like another emotional Korean romance story with secrets, family pressure, unexpected love, and a powerful transformation, you can stay around for the next one. Because sometimes the person everyone has given up on isn't waiting for someone to rescue them. They're simply waiting for one person to believe they can become better. And sometimes, that one person changes everything.